Chips are down. Call on Mumfie when you need defending. Braver than a bulldog, brighter than a clown. Here comes Mumfie with a happy ending. With his faithful friend the Scarecrow, he's got dreams enough to share. So if you want adventure, this is where to start. If you need a hero who can play the part, the little pachyderm with a great big heart.
It was a quiet day without much to do, and Scarecrow was looking forward to spending it in his favorite chair. Oh! Ah! Ah! Scarecrow, what are you doing on the floor? Looking for, something. Something, I dropped. Why are there pillows on your head? On my head? There are pillows on my head? Ah, so that's where they got to. I've been looking for these. Oh, I thought maybe you didn't like my music. You were playing that, unusual music? Really? And I made this guitar myself. Interesting. I think it works quite well, don't you, Scarecrow? It certainly does, Mumfie. Shall I play another tune? Another tune? You know what I was just thinking was? The letterbox. Yes, the letterbox. Did you check it yet today? No. I'll do that right now. And when I get back, I'll perform a nice long concert. Scarecrow, here's a letter from Mrs. Admiral. She's coming to visit. Well then, we'll have to write back to her and get the dates sorted out. The dates are already sorted out. She suggested... When? Today. Today? There was so much to do to get ready for their guest that Mumfie and Scarecrow barely knew where to start. Do you think Mrs. Admiral will be comfortable sleeping on the sofa, Scarecrow? It doesn't have any lumps. My bed has lumps, but I like them. I like my lumps, too. They're what makes my bed my bed. I would miss them if I had to sleep anywhere else. Isn't this a beautiful cake? I'm sure it will taste good, Scarecrow. Everything's just right. The perfect hosts always have a little rest before the guests arrive. Yoo-hoo! It's me! I'm here! Hello, Mrs. Admiral. How lovely to see you. We're so glad you came. What a journey I've had getting here. Under hill, over dale. The octopuses were square dancing by seashell corners, and they insisted I dosey-doze a while. Oh. Seeing Mrs. Admiral sitting in his favorite chair made Scarecrow suddenly feel a little strange. But he wanted to be a good host. Make yourself at home, Mrs. Admiral. Could anyone do with a cup of tea? Oh, yes. That would be lovely. And I'll make some buttered scones. No! You relax. We'll get the tea. No trouble at all. We insist. We are the hosts. Have you seen the sugar bowl? It's right here. Tea's ready, Mrs. The journey wore her out. All that dancing with octopuses. We'll have to wait until later to have tea. The rumbling in Mumfie's tummy was telling him how lovely a piece of cake would be right now. He decided he would take his mind off his stomach. I'll practice. Not in here. Soon Mrs. Admiral will wake up and she'll tell us how lovely the cottage looks. And the three of us will have tea together. And I'll play a concert. And we'll all have fun. There you are. I didn't know where the two of you had got to. Did you have a nice nap, Mrs. Admiral? Just fine and dandy. I woke up so full of beans that I decided to make your cottage all nice and cozy for you. Come and have a look. I thought it was already nice and cozy. I thought the cottage was perfect. Seeing all the furniture in different places made Mumfie feel like a stranger in his own home. But he could see how proud Mrs. Admiral felt about her handiwork. Oh, Mrs. Admiral, it's, Whoops! Different, Mumfie? Oh, yes. You've done a good job, Mrs. Admiral. It's very different. I think this is the perfect spot for a footstool, and in a day or so, when you get used to it, you'll think so too. What happened to the flowers on the mantel? Ooh, they made me sneeze, so I took them back to the garden. We don't want you sneezing. Ooh, and I tasted your cake. Not a pretty picture, but absolutely delicious. Someone here is an excellent baker. Thank you, Mrs. Admiral. Perhaps I'll try a crumb of that cake myself. Oh, there's none left. I fed it to the birds. They looked so hungry. And as soon as they saw it, the birds just gobbled the whole cake up. I think they thought it was delicious too. What was that? It was Mumfie's tummy. And for just a moment, Mumfie wished that the cake hadn't been quite so delicious, because there would have been some left for him, and his tummy wouldn't be rumbling quite so much. Perhaps you'd like to hear a guitar concert, Mrs. Admiral? I made my guitar myself. Splendid, Mumfie. I'll sit right down here to listen. Oh, dear. Never mind, Mrs. Admiral. I can always make another one. You know, I'm feeling a bit homesick for the sea. The sound of the surf outside my window. Sometimes we can hear the wind. Oh, no need to worry, Mumfie. I'm sure I'll sleep as soundly as a sea urchin, even though I'm not in my own bed. It's a very comfortable sofa, Mrs. Admiral. Scarecrow tested it himself. Ooh, you make me feel right at home. Being a good host can be difficult, Scarecrow, but I think it's going to be easier tomorrow. I'm sure. Especially after a good night's sleep in my very own bed. Good night, Scarecrow. Good night, Mumfie. Did you know there's not a single lump in that sofa? I don't know if I can sleep without any lumps. My bed has lumps, Mrs. Admiral. In all the right places. Maybe you'll be more comfortable here. As the moon and stars came out, everyone but Scarecrow went happily to sleep. He missed his bed. Are you asleep? Huh? Ooh, it's such a beautiful morning. I decided to take a nice long stroll. Didn't want you to wake up, find me gone, and start to fret. Good morning, Scarecrow. How did you sleep? I didn't. Oh, dear. Maybe you should go back to bed. Oh! I'll be fine just as soon as I put on my hat. Let me get it for you. Your hat's not on its hook, Scarecrow. Maybe Mrs. Admiral rearranged it. Well, let's look around. I'm sure we'll find it. Did you find it? No. What if it's gone forever? A more glorious day has never been seen by woman or mermaid. And Scarecrow, I have a surprise for you. I took your hat with me and darned the hole. My hat. Thank you. It was a pleasure, Scarecrow, after you gave up your bed for me and all. Right then, time for me to make the two of you a hearty breakfast. We're going to make your breakfast, Mrs. Admiral. Why don't you go out into the garden? Righty-o. There's plenty I can do out there. Mrs. Admiral darned my hole. It was very considerate of her. I liked that hole. Never mind. We'll just undarn it after she leaves. If she's already left, she'll never know that I undarned it, and so her feelings couldn't be hurt. I would never hurt a friend's feelings if I could help it, Mumfie. I know that, Scarecrow. Especially when she was trying to do something nice for me. What a wonderful visit I'm having. You two have made me feel right at home. You are very good hosts. Thank you, Mrs. Admiral. I have something for you. This is for you, Mumfie. I made it out of some broken-off branches I found on my walk this morning. Oh, Mrs. Admiral, this is exactly what I've always wanted. And there was enough wood left over for me to make this flute for you, Scarecrow. For me? So the two of you can make music together. Thank you. I never expected this. It was the least I could do after all the trouble I've been. Trouble? You've been no trouble. No trouble at all. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because Mr. Admiral thought he'd join us. Oh, is he coming to take you home? No, we thought we'd stay a week. If that's all right with you.